Hey church, as I'm sure you are aware, Eagle County has moved into the orange phase of the COVID-19 dial, which does have some ramifications for us. And we as church leadership and staff have been working through all week what that looks like and how we want to respond to that. And so I have a couple updates for you. But before we get to those, I just want to share really the overall heart about how we respond in times like this, right? As individuals, as a church, really how we should be responding to our county and our neighbors and all that stuff during this crazy time that we're all in. And really 3 words come to mind when I think of the response we should have. And those 3 words are patience, preference, and humility. Patience, preference, and humility. Patience with each other, right? Now, we've all got all kinds of different ideas about things in this season, but the reality is everybody is going through this together. And so we need to be patient with each other, patient with our government leaders, patient with those who are over us in authority, and with those that we're interacting with around in all the circles that we go through. And so we want to treat each other with patience. It's a fruit of the Spirit, right? We see patience in Galatians when it's talking about the fruits of the Spirit. We want to walk with patience towards each other. We want to give preference, showing one another preference as unto the Lord, right? It talks about in Philippians and in Ephesians that really we should be considering others as better than ourselves, looking with preference towards other people. So even as we may have strong opinions about things and thoughts about the virus and masks and distancing and limits and all of those things, we need to show preference towards each other and towards our leaders as we walk through this. And then the third one is humility, right? We want to walk in humility. Now, you might have very strong opinions about all of these things, and I definitely do, right? Especially when it comes to stuff like this, I have all kinds of opinions, but the reality is I need to recognize that I don't know everything, and my job as a believer is to show humility towards others, to come under them and lift them up towards the Lord. And so let's keep those 3 things in mind. Those are going to be kind of our motto as we go through this next season of all the weekly changing things as it seems like they always are, right? Patience, preference, and humility towards each other, treating each other like Jesus, right? It makes me think of the command that Jesus really gave us to go the extra mile, right? You know what I'm talking about? Going the extra mile. Now, we've made this kind of a trite saying of going above and beyond, but the reality is when Jesus was speaking about this, people had a different cultural context than what you and I understand. Going the extra mile was a big deal. See, what he's referring to is in Jesus's day, a Roman soldier could come up to you, whoever you were on the street, and say, I want you to carry my stuff for a mile. So me representing the government, I want you to carry my stuff for a mile, and you'd have to do it. Whatever your plans were, you'd have to drop them. You couldn't go to work, you'd be late for work, you couldn't go home, you'd have to stick with what that person is telling you to do, and you'd have to carry it for a mile. And Jesus is saying, not only listen to that and follow through with that, but actually go with them 2 miles. Go way beyond what they're even asking you to and go 2 miles, carry their stuff even further than they would have you do it, right? Really, that's showing patience and preference and humility and exhibiting the heart of Jesus towards one another. That's our call as individuals, as believers, and as a church. And so as we look at this new transition into the orange phase of the COVID-19 dial, this has some ramifications for us. Now, we don't own our own space, and as much as I might like to set all of our own guidelines and all of those things, we meet in Vail Christian High School, and so it's their space, and they've asked us to stick very closely to the county guidelines on numbers of people that can attend services, on all of those things, and so that brings some changes for us in the way that we've been doing services. The biggest one is that we're going to limit our in-person attendance in the auditorium to 50 people. That's the Eagle County guideline, and that is the guideline that we're going to follow. And so what that means for us is we're going to bring back registering for church. Now, I don't like to sign up for church, but the reality is I want to be at church. And so I encourage you to get on early in the week and pick your spot. We're going to have overflow seating. And so, obviously we don't want to turn anybody away. We're going to have extra room. We're going to have, we're working on some options to get some really awesome secondary spaces so that we can have 50 people in different areas. But the limit in the auditorium is going to be 50 people. And so make sure you get online and register for our services. We'll also be looking at, as registrations fill up, we might be adding more services. I know on the 29th, we're going to add back our Sunday night service, and so that's going to be awesome. That's going to give us an opportunity to distribute our people a little bit more that way. But whatever the result is, I want to make sure that you know that you have a place at church, and we want to see you there, and you're welcome to come. Also, I want to remind you that our policy has been for the past several months that once you enter the building to keep your mask on the entire time. This is our policy, but it's also because it's the school's policy and the county guidelines. And we want to make sure to keep church open. So help us keep church open by keeping your mask on. We're still rocking Kids Church at our 10:30 service. We would love to have your kids come join us. They're having a ton of fun down there. We hope that you'll join us on a Sunday. We are going to have to register, and so just make sure you get on each week and sign up for the spots that you want. As I said before, we may add services if our registrations start filling up, and we will be adding the 6:30 p.m. service at the basement as of next Sunday, November 29th. So thanks for bearing with us and showing patience and preference and humility for each other, for our leaders, and as a church, loving each other the way that Jesus has loved us. Let's step into this new season with confidence as we engage in relationship and community with each other. Please feel free to join us online if you're choosing to stay home, but we'd love to see you in person as well. We're doing our very, very, very best to create a safe environment to make sure that you feel comfortable coming and worshiping the Lord together.